Very quickly to recap what the book is about before I dive into the content. So the problem my readers are concerned about, they perceive that, so they have no freedom in their life at all. Either they want to get out of a job and starting a company seems like a risky and overwhelming step, or they have a business but it's driving them crazy instead of making them free. So the feeling is that they work way too hard with very little return, financial or emotional return. They are ambitious, they know the product or skill they're selling is exceptional, but they can't seem to get the world to understand that. Something they want to avoid or get away from, to escape the humdrum of a boring job or a boring life that they built for themselves as an entrepreneur. They have too much on their plate without the advantages they were looking for at the beginning. The money is not enough, the free time is scarce, and they're just not having fun. Just so you know, the subtitles here, like every time, is the questions from the book publishing course. Something they want to have but they don't have or don't know how to get it. They want to travel, spend time with their kids. They have this crazy project in mind. I find that a lot of my audience, they have one crazy project. Some of them it's traveling around the world, doing videos for a blog. For some of them it's like building this house with their hands, but they have one project and they feel that it's just not possible at the moment. My argument to convince readers that they need to read my book. In 2013, I took my fiancée for a 6-month trip around the world. It cost us 4,000 euros each, and the cost of life while traveling was lower than the cost of life at home. And because we had built an online source of revenue, we had more money when we came back than we had when we left for the trip.
Awesome, that's great.
And all of that was on running the business 1 day a week on 6 hours max per week. According to surveys, 54% of my demographic think their life is not as good as they had hoped for. 81% believe that everyone can change their life if they set their mind to it. And 53% want to travel. That's the first thing they want. 40% dream of buying more stuff. So that's the use for the money. This is 100 something, 1,000 entrepreneurs. My promise is that after reading this book, you can take a day off, completely off from the business every week, an additional day off, and still make more money than you're making right now. Getting to work less, freeing up time to travel and have fun, or being an empire builder type of person and getting more leverage out of the expended time from shifting the existing hours in their work week. When they read the book, they will be able to get great people and effective systems to do the grunt work for them, take a holiday every week, even if it's an extra day. My book will give them the belief it can be done, the inspiration to give it a try, the method to get more out of their time, and simple advice to, I think in English you say, get your dollars to go further, something like that. Very quickly, my target audience is for an ambitious entrepreneurial person that wants freedom to explore their passions and maybe travel the world with their loved ones. So you're in the audience. So someone who has big dreams but is working too hard in their own opinion compared to the results they are seeing towards those dreams. Overworked people. And statistics I have that indicate that there's potential audience for my book. So the Where's Matt kind of videos, I don't know if you know this guy, he just dances in crazy places and he gets tens of millions of views per video every year. The 4-hour work week built a movement in the US, but it's not been tapped in France yet.
Really?
So French bloggers know about the 4-hour work week, but not the entrepreneurs. And we are a tougher market for outsiders to break in, which is great for me because I'm inside. So I'm really happy about that. So the prescription, like how do I get people to the right direction? The first thing is getting them to decide on the direction they want to go. The second is to set up what I call a one priority system. So it's similar to the one thing idea. And then getting a think tank or mastermind around them, building a success team, getting the most from their current resources. One of the things that I, up till yesterday night, was not going to include, and this morning I'm thinking that should definitely in it. So I love if you tell me if it makes sense, but the money habits part, because that was the start of my story. And after finishing the outline yesterday, I realized I wasn't talking about the actual like outlining what you're doing with the money. So I'm thinking they don't want to learn it, but they need to learn it. So we'll see. How is my approach different from anything else I've seen or heard on the subject? There's a large demographic of business owners aged 25 to 40 in my market. They see entrepreneurship as a way to live their dreams, and they don't relate to the old way, the boring way that in France is considered the business way. So they're not wanting to start a corporate business or build a corporate business. They see it as a way to just live what they've learned in whatever personal help book that you can achieve whatever you want. So they want, from my audience words, they want a combination of inspiration and advice, and they want to learn from the best. There are no French offers that address this demographic. How is my book different from the 4-hour work week? So my reader sees the 4-hour work week as a book for lazy people. And they just stop at the title. They don't want to be lazy. I understand that that's not what the book is about, but it's all in the positioning. And in my market, just the title just doesn't get people to read it. The people that need to read it don't read it.
That's so interesting.
And I've seen that the goal with the book itself, if you look at the content and the people that apply it, the goal with the 4-hour work week for a lot of people is to get away with the least amount of work that will pay the bills. And I feel I have the reader that aims at the maximum amount of money and freedom they can get out of their drive. Yeah. So it's a different way to use the same leverage. I'm the only writer that has grown a 7-figure business while traveling and dancing around the world. Other people in my market are writing books, but my experience is unique because of the people I've interviewed to write the book, because I started it with no assumptions. There are no books out there like mine because nobody has my voice. So I'm a dancer, seduction teacher, and coach. So I think what I wrote down when I was prepared for the book is I'll make Tony Robbins' book a boring read in comparison. That's well, it depends on which book you're talking about, though, because
That'll be one of the quotes.
if somebody can tell that, like in the blurbs, that would be funny.
For a small fee, all of us will do that.
Okay, so the origin story, so that's the preface, isn't it? Story is here's what I have. The week I turned 25, I was spending my days and nights on my sofa, crouched in a fetal position and crying my eyes out.
We've all been there.
Thank you. My entire personal life was in shambles. I felt estranged from friends. I felt too ashamed of my life to try and call my family on the phone. And I had lost the love of my life. And on the arm of the sofa, there was a book that I had received as a gift a few days earlier. And after one more night of despair and agonizing, I sat up one morning. I opened up the book. I had nothing else to do. And I opened it for no particular reason. And the book was Life's Golden Ticket by Brendan Burchard. And once I opened it, I couldn't put it down. So I read it from cover to cover in 10 hours, not even stopping for food, a glass of water, or a bathroom break.
Perfect timing.
And it changed my life. I recovered the strength to call my ex-girlfriend and get her back. It was 6 years ago. We are now married. I reconnected with my friends and family. I found my purpose and started a different business than the one that was making me miserable. And I've never looked back or felt hopeless a single day since 2010.
Wow.
So my whole personal life turned. 30. I'm going on 31.
This was 6 years ago?
Yes. And then in 2012, I went through the worst time of my professional life. So my business was a few days from bankruptcy. I had to let go of the person I had trusted for 4 years to be my assistant because our work relationship had turned to a constant fight. I had no systems in place, no team that I could trust, no financial understanding of any time. And I was sitting on a hotel bed this time with tears pricking my eyes and my fists clenched from all of this pressure. And I thought, there has to be a book that can support me to turn this around. If only I had a book to show me the way, and if only I could get my hands on life's golden ticket for business. And that book for me didn't exist. It took me weeks and months to fix things, to interview people that each had one piece of the puzzle until I got it right. And I decided that what I had learned the hard way, I wanted to write so that people can consume it in an easy way and wouldn't have to experience the pain that I went through at that point. So that would be the intro. And if I can just share the back cover description of the book and title ideas I have, and then I get some cover. So the shortest description I can give of my project is my book is the Entrepreneur's Travel Guide to Freedom, based on my experience of earning millions of euros before the age of 30 and dancing around the world with my fiancée while running my business 1 day a week. This book will show you what entrepreneurial freedom looks like. It will give practical advice to set things in motion and avoid the common traps. And last but not least, it helps you get in touch with fellow entrepreneurs on the same journey so that you can too enjoy the business success and freedom you deserve. And by the way it helps you meet other people is come to the event that's offered as a bonus. With the book, at the very beginning, I'll start with like how to consume the book, take notes, like write on it, tear it apart if you need to, and I'll have a dual path of readership, which is not going to show up in my explanation, but at the end of each chapter, I have a 1-page, like here's the one thing you need to remember, so that when I'm selling the book, I tell people, if you want, this book will give you the result without even reading the book. You just have like 8 pages you should go to and you get the whole thing. So the book starts with where I was in 2012 on that hot seat that I had with the Prep group. So I was working like crazy to deliver on the product that I had sold $1 million worth of. I looked at my bank account for the first time in 4 months. There was nothing on it. So I asked on the hot seat, like, how do I deal with this problem? I received some very constructive advice and some very tough, loving advice. We had one of the special guests was Don Craver was there, and his quote was, "Man, I don't understand." So there was him and Ridgely, and they collaborated into telling me the idea that they are not even going to the bathroom without their numbers. So, like, you're not in business if you don't know your numbers. And you're telling us about this trip around the world you want to do. You're going to be declaring bankruptcy from South Africa if you're not sure on every single number before you leave for this trip. So some people even suggested that I should postpone or cancel the trip itself, which for me was not an option because I had decided I wanted to propose on the trip. And I had spent so much time selling my girlfriend on the idea that yes, we can do this because we can do anything we want and it's gonna happen. And then if I came back, that would be the ultimate failure, to come back and say, well, we can do everything except solve money problems. So that was not the communication I wanted to have. And so I had that challenge to work out, which was the money problem. And the second problem I had to work out is, at some point, Cécile sat me down and she said, well, I have a big concern about this trip that we are about to take. And the concern is that you're working 100-hour weeks and will end up traveling around the world and the whole, like every picture of the trip is going to be you with your computer in front of the Himalayas, you and your computer in front of the beach in Rio, and it's just going to be like changing the wallpaper behind you.
You made it visual.
And I said, well, I don't want that as my souvenir for the trip. So I said, okay, I promise to you that I will not be overworked. And she said something along the lines of, because one of my favorite quotes is what you measure gets better. It's Bob Parsons' quote. I don't remember the English version of it. Everything that is measured improves. And she says, well, you're not measuring your work time, so saying that you will not be overworked is not going to be doing anything. So I said, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work 1 day a week. And she says, how many hours?
24 hours.
And I say, I'm going to work 1 day a week and it's going to be a 6-hour day. She says, deal. And then I think, fuck. How the hell will I deliver on that? So the first thing I realized is, if I wanted to keep the promise, first of all, it had to be something very habitual. So it had to be a very specific day of the week, because if it was not a specific day of the week, some weeks I'd end up, let's say, spending from Monday to the Friday of the next week, which means there's twice as much work, so I would work more, it will fail. And we're traveling all around, so we need to make sure that we have a place that has high-speed internet so I can communicate with my team. So it needed to be a habit. So I said, it's going to be Mondays, and every Monday I will be working 6 hours. And so whatever place we are at, we have to be in a hotel with a nice internet connection every single Monday, even in India, so I can fulfill the rest of my promise. And so that's the first tip of the book. There are 9 habits that I've identified that were needed for me to become a free entrepreneur, and that I've identified with my clients and mentors that I've interviewed. And the first one is the habit of habit building. Habit building.
Habit building. That's good.
So that's my first chapter, but